Nosferatu is written and directed by Robert Eggers, inspired by works from Henrik Galeen and Bram Stoker, and stars Lily-Rose Depp, Nicholas Hoult, Bill Skarsgård, Willem Dafoe, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Emma Corrin, Ralph Ineson, and Simon McBurney, and it follows a gothic tale of obsession between a haunted young woman and a terrifying vampire infatuated with her. This is a movie I was incredibly excited for. I've been a big fan of Eggers' other movies, The Lighthouse in particular, and similar to Luca Guadagnino and his recently released Queer, it felt like Eggers' whole life had been leading up to this movie. And coming out of it, it definitely still feels like that because this movie is amazing and there's so much to love about it. And I think the best place to start is with the technical aspects and Eggers' direction. As we know from his other movies, Eggers is an absolute master of tone and atmosphere, and that continues here. The feeling of this movie is so strong. There is such a palpable dread and creepiness that is always there throughout the movie, and that is heavily enhanced by these technical aspects. The cinematography from Jaron Blaschke is so gorgeous. Pair that with production design from Craig Lathrop and costume design by Linda Muir, and it not only helps bring that atmosphere and tone into complete focus, but also helps put you back in the time and place of the story. And with those technical aspects doing that, it allows Eggers' confidently sleek and restrained direction to really shine. Like Eggers does in his other movies, there are quite a few cool little long takes throughout the movie that you might not notice, and then when you notice, you're like, oh, hell yeah, that was a long take. Aside from that, Eggers is still an incredible creator of memorable images. This movie has so many. Orlok's silhouette, the carriage picking up Nicholas Hoult, the final shot of the movie. There's so many of these memorable images throughout the movie, and quite a few of them feature people or their faces. And these images, because of that, become so much more powerful because of just how fantastically good this ensemble is. It's one of my favorites of the year, if not my favorite. Everyone is spectacular, starting with Lily-Rose Depp, who just blew me away. I've never seen her act before, but what she's doing here is so incredible. There's such a raw intensity in her performance that she brings to these possession scenes where she's doing this massive physical acting and facial expressions that really make you believe she's possessed. Aside from that, though, she nails her dialogue scenes too. She'll go from a scene where she seems completely helpless to one where she's confidently standing up to herself, and both are just as believable. It's a really impressively amazing performance. Alongside her is Nicholas Hoult, who I might have to award Cinematic Tweaker of the Year. He's just sweaty the whole time in this movie and freaking out, and he's just great. As always, especially in the first act, which is largely anchored by him, he just absolutely nails it, and he's so captivating to watch. I loved this performance. But I think what people are mostly going to be talking about here is Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok. This is an incredible horror movie monster performance, and I think a big part of that is that there is not 1%, not one iota of Bill Skarsgård visibly or audibly in this performance. The whole time I was looking at his eyes, his mouth, anything to try and see a little Bill Skarsgård, and you just can't. And there's a lot of credit to be given to the makeup team there. The makeup and hairstyling is incredible all throughout this movie, but Skarsgård is doing a lot too. He has an incredible physicality, and his vocal work, the voice and the accent he's doing, really just bring the character into full focus. And he's so creepy too, largely due to Skarsgård's performance, but also some decisions Eggers makes. One that I absolutely love is that Count Orlok does not suck blood out of your neck. He sucks it straight out of the heart. He bites your chest. And the sound design in those moments is so gushy and disgusting and so good. It's so good. Orlok is so beautifully realized in this movie. It's a fantastic performance and a fantastic rendering from Skarsgård and the behind-the-camera team. Behind those three performances, you've got a great supporting cast. Aaron Taylor-Johnson, I think, is doing some career-best stuff here, and he is just a guy really going through it. Like, he gets his ass kicked to this movie, and I thought he was really good in those moments, and he has a couple really funny line readings where Lily-Rose Depp will say something crazy, and he'll just go, "What?" And it's entertaining and funny every time. Alongside him, Emma Corrin plays his wife, who is a spectacularly good actress, but maybe the only actor I felt was kind of underused here. I would have liked to see a few more minutes of screen time from her, but still she makes the most of what she has. And then you've got really good supporting veteran performances from Willem Dafoe as a crazy professor, Ralph Ineson as a doctor, and Simon McBurney as Orlok's sort of sidekick devotee. They're all bringing exactly what they need to be bringing to the movie. You know, they contribute to that tone and atmosphere and that spookiness. And I think there is something to say about this movie being a bit more spooky than scary. I myself am a big scaredy cat, and I wasn't horrified throughout this movie. I was a bit spooked the whole time, a bit creeped out, covering my face a lot, but ultimately it was more of like a gothic romance horror amalgamation thing, but I didn't find it terrifying. I just found it very spooky, which didn't hurt the movie at all for me, by the way. It was just a little unexpected. And I think that was another big aspect of my viewing of the movie, was I intentionally went in having no familiarity with the story. I didn't visit any other Nosferatu adaptations. I'd never seen one before, so I went into the movie pretty blind about the story, which benefited me in a big way because of staying completely locked into the story and always curious of where it was going to go. But it affected my viewing experience slightly in that the nature of the story just kind of caught me off guard, and so there were a couple stretches that were correctly taking their time and doing a slow burn that just lost my interest a little bit. But I don't really think that's a flaw of the movie. I think that's my baggage I'm bringing to it, and I think that'll definitely be rectified on a second viewing, because honestly, when I think about those stretches now, I kind of don't care at all, because there's so much I love about the rest of the movie that like a 10-minute stretch that's like a little less interesting just doesn't matter. And that is just because this movie is so successful in so many ways to me. You can see how important making this movie was to Eggers. It is so meticulously crafted. There's so much care in every single frame, and almost an intensity as well, not just from the nature of the story, but also from Eggers' desire to make this movie as good as possible. You know, I've seen Eggers say he doesn't like improvising. He likes going in knowing exactly what they're doing, and you can just feel all that prep work here, and just he wanted every bit of this to work, and I think it just about does. I think you could argue that there's a tiny bit of disconnect from the characters that sort of prevents ever fully attaching to them, but honestly, that wasn't a massive deal for me, and I think the performances are good enough that there's a lot of characterization that still comes through, and you get attached to them enough for it to not ruin the movie for you. The movie also has an incredibly memorable ending. This movie rules. It just gets better and better the more I think about it. I can't wait to see it again in a theater, because I really love this movie. It lived up to my expectations in a lot of ways, and this movie further cements what I think we kind of already knew, which is that Robert Eggers is a major filmmaker. He has, perhaps better than anyone else working right now, an incredible handle on atmosphere and tone. You know, the dread he makes you feel throughout this movie is so impressive, and you've got these incredible technical aspects and this incredible ensemble, and I think it all kind of comes down from Eggers, and everyone wanted to make this movie as good as it could be and meet Eggers' vision, and that comes across. Everybody feels like they're on the same page here. My favorite ensemble of the year, probably. All the crafts people are absolutely killing it. This is just another feather in Eggers' cap, another hit for him. Some people might raise some valid criticisms for this one, but I just loved watching it so much, I kind of don't care. And because of that, I would highly recommend Nosferatu. You know, if you're a scaredy cat like me, I'd say be a bit wary, but I did pretty okay. I was a bit spooked like the whole time, but I ultimately think it's worth it because the movie is just so awesome, so good. Please go see Nosferatu. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye!